Zach, we have talked about members of the Senate, members of the House, and their books at length for, I believe, over a year now. And every single time this conversation happens, we always talk about ethics. So, first, how is this ethical? And two, how much did his political committee spend? Because they did buy his books.
Right, right. So it explicitly states in the Senate rules when it bars them from receiving an honoraria, but it specifically says they are okay to accept book advances. And that is different between the Senate and the House. The House, they are not allowed to accept book advances. They can still write books, but any payments need to come through royalties. So, senators are explicitly allowed to do it, and some of them do. We've seen Bernie, we've seen Ted Cruz, Elizabeth Warren. I think has brought in about $4.5 million from her books. Um, so yeah, it's not a bad way to supplement, or by supplement, I think in Warren's case, double your income. So Bernie here bought total of $843,000 worth of books from publishers, or his campaign did rather, and they were the publishers who put out his book. Don't know for sure that they're his book, but it certainly seems likely. Uh, FEC rules allow candidates or campaigns to buy the candidates' books as long as it's either done in a way that the candidate doesn't profit from the transaction, which usually means they pay the publisher directly, or if it is done in a way where the candidate might profit from royalties, that any royalties are then donated to charity. And that's what Ted Cruz did recently. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. He got in trouble for using campaign funds to promote his book, directing people to retailers to buy it. The FEC investigated, found reason to believe he did violate campaign finance laws, and then he came back and said, "Oh, I've donated the money to charity," and they let him off the hook that way. So there are ways around that. But the other thing is, if you're a book publisher and I'm a senator, which I'm not and never will be, but if I'm a political office holder, I have this giant campaign slush fund that I can dip into. So sure, I may not profit directly from any transaction there, but the publisher is going to know it. It's going to be in the back of their mind that, okay, the publisher is going to be able to profit from the campaign's purchase, because if you buy, $200,000 worth of books, that's profit still for the publisher.
Zach, every time we talk about this, I will still ask you about ethics because it does blow my mind in every single conversation. But how does Senator Sanders's 2.5 million in book payments stack up to the other lawmakers that we've talked about?
He's on the higher end. Of all the people I've looked at, he is the second behind Elizabeth Warren there in terms of money they've brought in. I have not checked every single senator out there, and I'm only looking at current ones. But the easiest way to do it is who's written the most books. I mean, that's it. If you write one good book, you're a proven earner, so you're probably going to keep getting book deals. We're seeing Ted Cruz, who I believe is in third place right now. Signed a two-book deal, I guess it was last year, and has a book, already set to come out within the next year or so, I believe.
As we know, Bernie Sanders did run for president both in 2016 and 2020. Did these presidential runs boost his sales at all?
It's tough to tell since most of his books weren't written before then. There were only two books that were out before he ran for president, whereas the other ones have all come out afterwards. So it certainly seems to have boosted his appeal with publishers, though, that he didn't have anything. Now, maybe he just didn't think of the idea. He had no interest in it, and all of a sudden decided, okay, I've wanted to do this all along. Let me do it now. But it's also possible a publisher reached out and said, "Hey, you've got a national platform. Let's get this thing out here as a book." So I reached out to them. They did not respond to any inquiries.
Zach Everson, per usual, thank you so much for your reporting. Hope to have you back soon.